there's a life I could have known, one beyond my wildest dreams. Maybe that road could have carried me to streets of gold, but things aren't always as they seem. Looking back on all the chances that I missed, some I held, some slipped away. One street over where my memories exist, I wondered what would change, I really couldn't say. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known, that would have kept me from the one I had today. Time's gone by, I've traded like dirt into clay. I thought my memories would end. One street over's now 1,000 miles away. When I close my eyes, I'm back to where I've been. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known, that would have kept me from the one I had today. I took a walk one street over from my home, cracked and broken asphalt everywhere. I could have ended up just like that broken road, with a dead end in my path. Thank the Lord that I've got more than that. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I won't forget the lessons that I don't deserve. Because one street over there's a life I could have known, that would have kept me from the one I love today. One street over there's a
Oh my
life
goodness,
I
good
could
morning.
have
Bill and I are
known.
sitting in here just talking, letting the song play out. This is 1100 WSGI. I'm U-Turn Laverne, and this is One Street Over, and this is Bill Jones in the house. How you doing, brother?
morning.
What's going
You know,
on?
it looks like the sun's shining in here with this bright light you got.
Oh, no,
It
that's-
isn't shining outside.
No, it's
Let me
not.
tell you, we've already got a 3/4 inch of rain
No,
so
but
far.
we needed it. My creek, well, that creek in front, the Cars Creek's been so
Oh,
low. I mean, the creek's been so low that my kiddos, my students at Greenbrier High School, audio video, we were shooting something for our Bigfoot. We're doing 2 documentaries, one Bigfoot and one
Really?
on drugs. And the one that we were doing on Bigfoot, we got Mr. Blue down there in the creek bed
Yeah.
and interviewed him. And it's beautiful. Oh, my goodness, it's beautiful footage. But I don't know that we could get in the creek bed now and do a video shoot, but because we needed that rain. And I need it for my pictures, too, man. My creek was getting awful dry, and I do a lot of photography down by the creek, and it's
You
not
ever
as
heard
pretty.
of the critter? That was
Cars
around here?
Creek Critter.
Cars Creek Critter. People still bring that up.
Terry Martin.
Yeah.
Terry Martin,
Yeah.
Hollywood. He was in here the other day. He's going to kill me if I don't quit calling him Hollywood, but it's just so much fun. And so he was in here the other day, and we were talking about this Bigfoot thing and how that we're doing this thing
Yeah.
on Bigfoot. And he got to talking about the Cars Creek Critter, and he said it was actually an escaped panther. Well, then I'm talking to a friend the other day. We were visiting with them, and he was talking about years ago. He was looking out his window living up in Ridgetop, and he saw a big black cat walk across his yard. And
too.
You have seen?
Right over here. Yeah.
Really?
This was, 10 years ago.
Oh.
Black Panther. My neighbor, who just moved here from West Coast, he came over a couple of days ago, and he said, "You won't believe what I saw the other morning going to work. It was dark, and I was out on Mount Zion Road, came around a corner, and there was a mountain lion eating a dead deer on the road." He said, "I know mountain lions."
They say that we've got them, but they're very reclusive.
Evidently.
And
They've been around here a while.
that's crazy. That's kind of
Game
cool.
warden has confirmed that.
You better be careful, y'all. That's
Yeah.
when these.
Then he told me, he said, "What is it with you all's buzzards?" I said, "What do you mean?" Well, two buzzards came flying into my backyard, one of them carrying a raccoon. And he said, "I chased him off. The raccoon, they must have gotten off the road." Mm-hmm. He said, "He was so heavy, I can hardly pick him up with a shovel."
Mm-hmm.
That
And it's
bird
like
was
these
carrying.
birds. That's amazing.
is.
This is Faith Friday. Don't
Yeah.
tell me there's not a creator when you look at the incredible detail of the creation. It's phenomenal. But I reached out to Bill. I said, "I'm working on something, but it's not quite ready. So I want you to come on in because I don't want to sit here and ramble." And Bill's he's always
good at it,
available. Oh, thank you,
Good at
thank you, thank
rambling.
you. I don't know if that's a compliment or no. Can I ask
Not many
you?
can do that.
Can I ask you a carpeting question before we go on?
I hope I have the answer.
Oh, you do. I have this. Oh, and this is completely off subject. I know, but I've just got to ask this because I've got to hit the door running when we finish up at 8 because it's Veterans Day. Thank you, veterans. Thank you, my favorite veteran, Jedediah Vivio, who served in Afghanistan, and just so proud of him. And thank you. You're one of my favorite
you gotta
veterans
remember
too.
veterans that didn't serve in the
Yeah.
heated areas. They're like me. I was in the weather service. I never went over there.
Yeah.
I feel bad about it, 'cause I just don't say anything because I thought, well, the heroes are those guys over there.
Well, but you're
and
a
then
veteran.
a guy told me one time, well, we had to have you for support,
That's
so
right.
I felt,
Absolutely.
anyway,
Absolutely.
that's just-
Matt Driscoll's another
two
one,
kinds.
and his bride, Christy. They're all, of course, Christy's still serving. But, and Terry Wilson, I could just start going. Ken Gamble, I'm just going down the list of so many veterans who I just love dearly. But at the top of the list is my son, Jedediah. Thank you very
Yeah.
much. And go eat and make your rounds and go get your fill. It's so funny. Matt Driscoll yesterday, he's teaching now, and he said, "Man, I can't go and do my normal pilgrimage to all the restaurants that are feeding the veterans today."
Yeah,
So anyway, but okay, here's my carpeting
Okay.
question. I'm doing photography and stuff now, and I've got this rug that I want to use. It's an old rug, and it's in really good shape, and I hosed it off the other day, but I've got this big tear in it. And so I'm going to cut the rug down, and so I'm going to have a raw edge.
Yeah.
Is there something I can do to finish that raw
Well,
edge?
here's the cheap way.
Okay.
Go buy some Elmer's glue,
Okay.
white glue,
Okay.
and spread it on that edge. It's going to dry clear.
Okay.
And it's going to keep it from raveling. The expensive way, you can take it to a dealer, a carpet dealer. We don't do it, but Springfield Carpet, one's right across from Payne Brothers, they have a machine that surges it. And,
Okay.
it's, I don't know how much it runs now. Price has gone up, I'm sure.
Sure,
It used
sure.
to be about $2 a foot, but they
right.
can surge that with
Okay.
thread. It's just, surged on the
Sure,
edge
sure.
of it,
Yeah.
which is lasts you a lifetime.
Okay.
But the cheap way,
Is the Elmer's
which I've
glue.
done it for years,
Okay.
is the glue. And when it sets up, it's clear. You don't notice it unless you cake it on,
Yeah.
do that. But it'll keep it from raveling.
Okay, thank you. I knew you. It was so funny because Mark and I, my husband, we were unraveling it to wash it. 'Cause we're like,
Unraveling it.
well, no, unrolling it,
Yeah, I know.
unrolling it, because we had it stored and some critter has chewed the edge off of it. But it's perfectly beautiful sign of a Southwest rug, and you'll see sometimes photography where they'll put the rug outside
Yeah.
and put people on it. That's something that I'm wanting to set up. And
What's it
so,
made of?
I don't know. I've had
Is
it
it
for
an outdoor carpet?
no, it's not. But
Okay.
it's an indoor carpet.
Is it old?
It's very old.
Old?
I've
Might
had
be
it
wool.
since my children. I mean, I've had it 20 plus years.
Yeah.
And so,
Not
but
wool
it's
then,
held
probably.
up really well. And if it hadn't been for the varmint, I mean, we took the pressure washer to it. It washed up beautifully. And so it's going to be perfect for photography. For what I'm going to, because I'm going to roll it up and roll it back out. But I'm like,
Well,
well, I
the
can
glue
cut
will
that
work for
edge
that.
off. Yeah, I thought I can take the edge off that.
But the other way,
Yeah.
it's the best way. And
Okay, well, I may do that. I may do that because I think this is a good prop piece. That's
Yeah.
one thing. I'm looking for all kinds of prop pieces and things. I'm setting up a Christmas mini set, and I'm taking, if this works in my mind's eye, I think this is going to be a beautiful picture in my woods that are stark and there's no
Yeah.
leaves now. I'm going to take about 4 or 5 artificial trees kind of in the distance and light them up with white light. And I think that's going to be a pretty setting. We'll see.
sounds
And then,
good.
and then I've got a setting that I've worked up in the loft of my barn that I've taken. We made what looks like tobacco sticks. They're not tobacco sticks, but they're made, and we made 3 trees out of it that I'm going to put, some kind of decoration on. And I've got that with whiskey barrels up in the loft. And if I can light it properly, I've got that.
That
and
reminds me, have you seen Springfield downtown at night lately?
oh, it's beautiful.
It is.
Just gorgeous.
I stood out in the Fifth Avenue Hill a couple of nights ago, walked out in the middle of the street to take a picture. I like to got run over. I didn't know the car was coming, but it's better looking than I've ever seen.
It is beautiful.
Used to years ago, they had it really nice. A lot of decoration. These are simpler, but brighter, and they're really
It's just beautiful.
attention getting. Springfield,
love it.
I'm so proud of Springfield now.
I am too.
They're
I am
doing such a
too.
good
We're
job.
so proud of it.
I told Ann Snyder the other day how
Yep.
proud of
They're doing just a
all of
beautiful
the
job.
leaders in Springfield.
It's so funny that you mentioned the downtown square. I just we're approaching the 1-year anniversary of what happened with the big tornadoes
Yeah.
that came through, and being from Mayfield, that's a conversation
I talked to the
had.
mayor the other day of
Of
Mayfield.
Mayfield.
for an
Why?
hour.
Why did you have an opportunity to talk
there
to?
was a weather seminar up
she's
in Bowling
funny.
Green at the college.
She's a character.
She is.
She is a
You know, one
character.
thing she said impressed me. She said, "I went to the basement with a candle." I
Bless.
laughed.
Yeah.
She said, "Yeah, you can laugh. I won't do that again." But said when I came out, there was nothing there. She's just a few blocks away from the mid of the town. And the fire department called her. Or she called the fire department and said, "Can you come get me?" Said, "We can't get our doors open. They're all crushed in. But we're going to get a truck and we'll come get you." About that time, a woman walks up to her. She said, she was sort of in a daze. She said, "I don't know what to do or where to go." And she said, "Well, just come on, go with me. Fire department, bringing a pickup and get your stuff and
Yeah.
let's go." She said, "Stuff?"
It's
And she
gone.
looked, said it was just a concrete slab there. That we're not prepared for that here. Might ought to get prepared.
I try to help people understand. Having grown up there, I grew up in Mayfield.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my home. I can't talk a lot about it, but going shoe shopping and Lukoski's and all the
It'll
things
never
that
be
were there
the
on the
same.
square. Oh, it's gone.
Yeah.
It's not just not going to be the same. It's gone. They've torn down the courthouse now. They're taking down the old hospital. There's one of the old churches that's going to stay, and that's about it. That's about it. And
Methodist church or something. She was
there's
talking about
it's
that.
one of the I think it's the Baptist
Baptist,
church.
okay.
And then
You
one of the
tell me
bank
about it.
buildings was built really well. And the CVS there on the corner, which was not there when I was a child, but all the old stores
Yeah.
that just like all these, it is so reminiscent of
wish
what we have
someone
here in
could-
Springfield. They just have no idea.
Wish somebody could have her here and talk. Meeting or something. She's very interesting.
Yeah, she'll come. I'll put her on, man. She can come on. She's a mess. I'll reach out because my nephew works for the
Probably could get
city
her
of
on
Mayfield.
radio.
My
But
nephew works for the
She's going to
city.
be a long talker.
Yeah, but he works for the city, and then my brother's best friend works for the sheriff's office, and so I've got some connections. I might be able to get her in here, but she's a character.
Very
But,
interesting. I wish the
yeah.
city would do it.
Well, especially with us coming up on the 1-year anniversary very quickly, and again, as you say, getting prepared. Think about this is we live in this is so reminiscent of where I grew up here, and that's why I think I love Springfield so much. But if you can imagine in a moment having the entire down
moment,
square
too,
and
not
the entire down
over an
square,
hour.
but having the entire downtown square wiped out, take off the top half of your courthouse, and your entire historic district gone. The historic churches
Within seconds.
within seconds. That is what happened in Mayfield, and so many cities within that path that were
Right.
also devastated.
That's right.
Mayfield being the county seat of Grace County, and it got all the national attention. And so we're very curious. I had this conversation, and I guess it's on my mind because my mother and I were talking yesterday. And the last time I was in Graves County, in Mayfield, they had not torn down the courthouse yet. It's gone. It's a slab now. It's completely gone. It's completely gone. They're taking the old hospital down now. And then they are, the steakhouse where we had my 40-year class reunion was completely gone. They have built back another building, not exactly as it was, but that one's come back. And so we're talking about the things that are being built back.
And she told me I hadn't thought of. She said, we can't find the streets. The street sign.
Seriously?
Even though she's been there all her life, she said, I had to think about where to go.
Yeah.
And
it was
the police,
crazy.
Everything has said, well, I think it's the second street.
Yeah.
That's something to think about.
It's crazy. I mean, it's just incredible. You can't even. It's just, you hear about these things in the news, and being in media, I have followed tornadoes my entire career, and you would see the devastation and you would watch it, but until you have to walk streets that you've known your entire life, and everything's gone. I joke around. I say that, I pulled up to that courthouse twice to take my driver's test because I flunked the first time. Yeah. So, I had to pull up 2 different times. And one of my dreams, too, talking about, thinking about Veterans Day, kind of doubling back to that, I talk a lot about my friend Kenneth Pease, who worked for, and this is more of a Memorial Day story, but Kenneth Pease was our farmhand, who in my mind was like a brother because he was always there. He worked for my parents. He wasn't that much younger than my parents, though. That's what's so weird. But he graduated from high school, was drafted immediately. I remember so clearly him coming up and telling us he was going in, and I was so proud of him because he was going to be a soldier, and it was like a minute later. I remember Mama getting that phone call and just starting to sob and putting us in the car and us going down to the field to get Daddy, and then finding out that Kenneth had died in Vietnam 6 months after he was deployed. He was a minesweeper, had a dog, and which is just so ironic because I've got pictures of puppies that he and my daddy found. And our dogs that we had on the farm were always were ones they were strays they found in the field or in the woods. We called them wild dogs.
Yeah.
We had wild dog puppies. And Kenneth and Daddy had found these puppies on the edge of the woods when they were doing something in the field, and they were hiding them in their shirt, keep them away from Mama, because she was going, you better not bring those dogs, and wanted to, because they knew if my sister and I saw them, that'd be all she wrote. Yeah. And so, and I've got pictures of my sister and I with those puppies and my daddy with them. I don't have one of Kenneth, but it's just, those are the kinds of memories. But he was a minesweeper and had a dog. And so his brothers said when they heard what his job was, they knew he wasn't going to come home. And I've got one of his helmets. But anyway, I digress. It is Faith Friday. My friend Bill Jones is in here, and I told him, you got to come in or I'm going to ramble. What do you want to talk about?
You're rambling already.
I know. What do you want to talk about?
Since it's Faith Friday,
okay.
And one of my favorite subjects is manners and customs of the Bible.
I love that.
And I was talking with a preacher Sunday. We were studying Esther. Oh, that was Wednesday night. We were doing that. But I said, I don't mean that we have an Eastern religion, but the Bible is an Eastern book.
Amen.
He said, you can't look at it in the Western.
No, you can't.
Look like Western people do. You have to look at it like Eastern people do to understand it. Mm-hmm. And that stuck with me years ago. And it got me on a quest to find out about manners and customs of the Bible. You know what exegesis means is? It's what preachers are taught in seminary. In the study of the Bible in a critical way. Not critical, but you examine it.
Is that the same as the hermeneutics of it? Because the hermeneutics is the word, too.
That's another
I'm going to set this up here.
But exegesis, you can... You go in and find out, what does it really mean? Whoever said this, what did he really mean by what he said? And that's what that exegetical, and I started doing that, and it makes me slow down. I can't read the Bible very quickly. I'm looking at everything, Then I start looking at manners and customs. It opened a door to me like I would not believe. You see why they said it, what they meant when they said it. And it's so many figures of speech in the Bible. I've got a book over here written by a guy 100 years ago, 212 different figures of speech in the Bible, and nobody's ever exhaustively done them. He's come close, and you can get that off the internet now. But it's a big, thick book. Right
Is
there.
that one?
Yeah, by E.W. Bullinger.
I'll put this on my Christmas list.
Englishman in England, and you're talking about some information. Oh, you just won't get all of that. But
Yeah.
just understanding
That's awesome.
what figures of speech are doing, because the Bible is full of hyperbole.
Let me ask you about this book. Does he have it broken down? Like, can I say, okay, I want to look up this passage reference? Does it have a cross reference where I can look it up? I mean, how does it? Oh, here it is. Yeah,
It does,
right here.
yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
Right there.
You
Okay.
can look, and that's called working it backwards.
Okay,
you
okay.
can do it frontwards or backwards.
And I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, you look at those figures of speech and say,
Okay.
well, like for instance, it'll be a scripture that say and,
Mm-hmm.
and Joseph, and Mary, and when it does it, that's a figure of speech. It's for emphasis. It's like
Right.
what I always said. It's like God taking a highlighter, a yellow highlighter, and highlighting the stuff that's important.
Yeah.
Not that the other is not important,
Right.
but that's the way I do. I highlight everything in yellow that I'm reading that I want to stand out, because I'll remember that. If I underline it in pencil, it's not as
Yeah, I
good as
don't see
highlighting.
it. Yeah.
So that's the way I figure figures of speech as a highlighter in the Bible. Another thing, basic thing, and I'd love to teach a class on this, and I'll have an opportunity sometime. Somebody will ask me to do it, I hope, on figures of speech and how to read the Bible. I just had an experience lately of a lady who's a friend of ours, and she wanted to get born again, and she doesn't live here, so she didn't know anything about the Bible. And my wife Kathy said, the best way I learned, I went and got a children's book, about storybook of the Old Testament.
Oh.
And I thought, that's good. That's real simple. And I know people think children's book, but it explains it so simply you don't have any problem trying to understand it. And
Right.
it tells you all the stories and what happened, how, and who the name Joseph, and all this. And I thought, and so what we did, we went to the bookstore, what my wife did, we went over to Goodlettsville bookstore and bought one. Big book, had pictures,
Yeah.
Bible stories.
That's where we
And
all
gave it to
started.
her.
Yeah.
She loved it. Now, some people
wonderful.
are going to scoff at that and say, I don't want any children's books. Well, it's the best way to do it. It's simple, easy, and you learned a lot. Mm-hmm. Then another thing I tell people in the King James especially, they're italics. Words are in italics sometimes. And what that means is it wasn't in their original. They put the italics in there to explain it, because a lot of times in Hebrew and Greek, they have letters in Hebrew we don't have.
Oh, yeah.
And you got to figure out how to pronounce it and what they mean. And a lot of times in the Hebrew and Greek, there's no translation to express it directly. So you have to you see a word or two words and you have to explain it with a sentence. You have to translate it in a sentence, and then people get upset with me. Oh, that's not right, because you're taking away from the Word of God. No, it's explaining it. It's the exegesis thing. And the italics, once you see it, you say, that wasn't there, so what are they trying to say? Well, it's not unholy anything to put your own interpretation on there if it fits. I always say the scripture has to fit like a hand in a glove. Mm-hmm. 5 fingers go in a 5-finger glove, not a 3-finger glove. Mm-hmm. I'm going to get one time I say that so much. But it has to fit. Once it fits, it blows up and it's so clear once you get the clarity of it, of making it fit. But you got to know that, a lot of people, and I took courses in Greek and Hebrew, took 3 in Greek just to get where I can sort of understand it. Hebrew is a little easier. But anyway, you don't have to do that. There's enough stuff on the internet now, translations and everything, of Greek words and Greek passages in Hebrews, that all you have to do is read that. You don't have to be versed in it.
Right.
It's like when computers first came out, I was the first one to introduce computers in the schools here. And I told them, I said, I like cars, but I'm not a mechanic. I just want to know where to put the key. And it's like that in the Bible. Just show me a place. You know, we're so fortunate with the internet to have sources there that will tell us. You know, I've got books. I've got a library full of books that tell you different meanings. I've got all kinds of stuff, but it's on the internet. It's there. But you start reading what somebody else says about a subject. Some of them are in left field out there. You just have to watch what you look. Another thing to realize in the Bible, the original Bible was written in all cap letters. It was all the words run together. There were no spaces between words. There were no chapters and no verses. Now, can you imagine trying to read something like that?
Right.
I'm glad it's not that way today. Then it went to all lowercase. And then they started dividing it up. And I found some errors where they divided the chapter at the wrong place. They should have waited a verse or went before a verse before they divided in the next chapter.
I've heard some studies on
But
that.
that's no big deal. People
Right.
make a big deal out of that. That's not. There's some errors like that, but that was man-made. It wasn't godly.
So-
The Bible's godly.
The capital was that when they translated it from the original language to English that you said it was all in caps, or is
No,
it
not
like
in the Greek.
it's in the Greek that it's
Yeah.
all in caps?
Yeah.
So that's the thing. When we try to put our meaning to the words and the way they were written, the point you made about
Right.
if we don't look at it from a Middle Eastern eye, if we don't look at it from the fact that it was written in common Greek, we miss so much of the meaning. If we don't know the idioms, if we don't know
Right,
the
the
customs,
idioms, that's
one thing. I've got a challenge for you, and I'm going to do a break, and then we'll
I
come
love
back and
challenges.
reset. Okay, I'm studying the women's role stuff, right? And something to me that's always been very clearly laid out that I've been studying lately is how they outline elders must be men. Number one, the overseer word is a masculine word and is not
Right.
necessarily saying that it has to be masculine, because the words are either male or female. And the
Well, they're
word
women.
about who, so if you want to take the adage of, well, that's a male word, so it has to be a male overseer,
not
the
right,
word
no.
whosoever believeth in him, whosoever is a male word. So
Yeah.
if you try to apply that, but then when they comes and it says a one-woman man, okay, in other words, and we translated that the husband of one wife, right? But if you go to the original, what I've been studying lately, and I had never heard this, that is actually where it says it's one woman man is an idiom that just means loyalty to your spouse. It is not necessarily
right. You're right.
husband-wife, or husband to wife. It could be wife to husband. It's about the loyalty,
Right.
not
That's
the
where
male.
it comes in so good.
Yes,
You learn
and that is an
everything.
idiom
Yeah.
that I had never heard. It's about loyalty, not about having one wife. And so therefore, because that's always been used to me, it's like, that's clear, it's got to be a man. But if it's an idiom and it just means that you're faithful to your husband or wife, to your spouse, then that changes it completely. We have silenced, we have absolutely shackled half of the body of Christ through the way the
You're
way
right.
we hold women.
It's time we saw it.
And I'm
as
not
it
a
is.
feminist, y'all. I'm not. I believe there's such a difference in the sexes, very clear differences, but we have absolutely imprisoned half of the body of Christ, and it is a
Exactly.
device of the devil himself. Because what could we do? And men, don't tell me, well, if women start preaching, men won't do any. Well, that's on you. It is not on the women.
It's in the Bible. There's women preachers,
I'm
women
telling
prophets, in the Bible, and
And I don't want to
We
get off
still
on
see it.
that because I'm not ready yet, but I'm getting ready. Have I given you a copy of the Didache? Do you have
Yeah,
a copy
yeah, I
of
got
that?
it.
You
Yeah,
got one?
yeah.
Okay. I want to make sure you had that because you were talking about the reason why this came to mind, and then I'm going to do my break. When you were talking about the person who's wanting to become a follower and you got them the child's
my
book.
wife did,
That's
yeah.
kind of what this is.
Yeah.
Because
It is.
that's what the Didache is. It's called, it's the teachings. That's what that word means. And when they found this, it was a concise survey or summary of the teachings of the apostles. The Didache is that's the title, the teaching of the 12 apostles. to break it down for people who had grown up in paganism, to say, here's the guidelines, here's some excerpts from the Sermon on the Mount, here's how you need to treat the Lord's Supper, here's how you need to treat baptism. You should read what it says about baptism. Oh my goodness. My fellow CFC folks, y'all gonna be freaking out when I start opening my mouth on this
Let me
stuff.
mention one thing I do. I send out 2 or 3 a week.
Yep.
On the
Difficult
internet.
scripture.
Difficult scriptures explained. And I
Yep.
touch a lot
Yeah.
of manners and customs and idioms.
Yep.
And once you know it, it's like turning a light on. You know,
Yeah.
it just fills up your knowledge of what they're talking about, not what you thought they were talking about.
Yeah, and if you get time to take a look at the idiom that I was mentioning
Yeah.
about the husband of
I
one
got all
wife,
that
all that,
at
if you would look into that further, I would love to hear what you have to say about that. We're going to pause for a second, and we're going to talk about my sponsors. Going to start with let's start with Veterans Motorplex, because this is the last weekend, y'all. This is the last chance you have to get out to Veterans Motorplex and see some racing, and it's going to be fun. We're talking an all-day event because of the weather and because of the cold temperatures. They are going to start racing at 2. Gates will open at 1. The pit's going to open at 9, but racing will start at 2. Now, here's the thing. We're watching the weather, but it's looking like it's going to clear out in time for racing on Saturday. It's going to be colder, though, so the racing is going to start at 2, and it's going to not just be racing. There's going to be a demo derby. They're thinking about 4 or 5 is when that's going to start up. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going this weekend. I'm going to bundle up, and I'm going to go and have a lot of fun. My students have been out there. Chris and Madison went last week. Got some video footage. Chris actually did a little video to advertise this weekend, and I'm hoping we'll get that posted this morning on my page, and then I'll send it over to Jerry. But he's really wanting to tap into the students at Greenbrier, because this is in their neighborhood. This is at 6801 Kelly Willis Road in Greenbrier, and he wants to just let the community know, man, if you want something fun to do with your family, this is it. The normal ticket price is $40, and that gets in 6 minor kids and 2 adults. Now they've upped the ticket to $50 this weekend, simply because they've got the demo derby and all the different things going on. So it's a little bit, it's $50 though, and you can get 8 people in. I mean, come on. It's a great ticket price and great fun. You are going to have a blast if you come out to Veterans Motorplex, the Old Highland Rim, this weekend as they finish out their season. You do not want to miss it. Now, always watch their Facebook page, which is the Highland Rim Speedway page. They kept that page because they had something like 17,000 followers. So they're not going to change that. But you'll see the banner at the top says Veterans Motorplex. Jesus is Lord. He's a Jesus freak, just like all of us. And want you to get out there and support them. They're great sponsors of this program, great friends of this program and the community. And when you get by there this weekend, I'll see you there. And be sure and tell them that you come see you. Bill Jones is in the house, and we're talking about the manners and customs of the Bible, idioms, those kinds of things. And this is Christy McClellan, one of my professors who I follow and study. I've studied all of her stuff, and it's good. This is where I heard about the Didache. But she talks about how that she has the company she works through is called New Lens Bible, and she talks about getting your new lenses, that we have got to put on new glasses and new lenses and look at it, as you said, through the manners and the customs and the Eastern lens. And that's her hope. You
don't want to be an old
premise.
wineskin Christian. The old wineskins they had to throw away because they didn't renew.
Yep.
We have to renew our thoughts every day to new thoughts, and that line up with the Word, of course. But,
absolutely.
And another thing I want to mention, there are headings in the Bible, like the story, it'll say the story of the prodigal son. Mm-hmm. What it should be the story of the forgiving father.
Of the running father.
Son. It's the father who's shines out in this.
Yes.
So
yes.
That's not, it wasn't God ordained, the headings in there. It's something somebody added, God didn't. So you just got to know what's true and what's not. And one important thing to me is when you read the Bible, you got to pay attention who he's writing to.
Absolutely.
Is it to me? Is it to you? Is it to Jews? Is it to Christians? Because we'll get confused and you think, oh, that's to me. I'm supposed to do that. No, that's not. It's written to somebody else. Mm-hmm. And you have to pay attention to that. Like a lot of the books in the New Testament, it'll say to the church at Ephesus, to the church at Colossus, to the church and to all believers. So hey, I'm a believer, so I can take this and it's written to me. But other times it may not be, and so. And of course, I said the Bible is full of stories. Jesus Christ taught in parables. So the parables he gave was about farming, about people, about things of their day. And if we can understand how they did their farming, just like somebody asked me the other day about the former and the latter rain. They didn't understand that. I said, well, it rained differently in Israel. It does here. The former rain is in the fall. The latter rain's in the spring. And they planted in the fall. The ground was real hard and dry in the summertime. And they got a rain in the fall, about October. And that's when they planted. And they didn't plant like a plow. They scratched the ground, put the seeds in there, and hoped it, because it didn't germinate, they don't have any food.
That's right.
And then they would harvest it in the spring. So when you understand that, you understand the former and the latter rain. When he's talking about something else, he said, well, it's like the former and latter rain. It's things like that. Now I've got a book here called Manners and Customs of the Bible. You can see all my notes.
I love books like this, yeah.
And there's another one. Yeah, I mean, you can buy these things anywhere. There's another one called Manners and Customs of the Bible Lands. It tells about what they ate, how they ate, what they wore, how they did things, and it explains things so well so you understand the scriptures of what they're doing. You think, well, what? I was reading one a couple of mornings ago about David when King Saul was after David, wanted to kill him. Saul was camped in this valley, and they were going to go out and have war the next morning. So in Saul's tent was a big spear stuck right at his head of the tent and a big water bottle. So David and his buddy, they sneak down into the camp at night, and he steals the spear and the water bottle. And you think, well,
what was that about?
Anything, you know? So he goes back up the mountain and hollers back in the middle of the night to the bodyguard of Saul and say, I've got his spear and I got his water bottle. Well, that spear, any sheik had a spear, and it recommended his power and his authority. And the water bottle, they drank a lot of water in the Middle East. They had to, it's so dry and hot. So they drank, just some of the historical things I've read, they drank so much water you couldn't believe how much they would consume in a day. But they'd have that water bottle by their head at night to wake up and drink. And so he took the very things that was right. They knew he was right next to the king and didn't kill him, but his partner with him wanted to, but David wouldn't let him. So it was significant. What's the water bottle and the spear? Well, that's just simple stuff. That's what it meant. And he got it to show that he was right there. If he just stood up on the mountain and said, ha, 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 come get me, that's not anything. But that was pretty brave to go down there and get his spear, which is a long thing, not a little short sword. So things like that just came up just the other day. There's so many things in the Bible like that explain, gives more understanding to what's actually going on there.
I love it. And something you said, and this kind of ties back into what I'm talking about with my research on women in the church, that so much has been said from the writings to Timothy about the church in Ephesus.
Yeah.
And those have been taken to be universal commands for the church as women. I do not allow women to have authority over a man, and I'm not going to get into all of those things right now. But the first and foremost point that this one teacher that I've been studying with says, you've got to remember when the letters were written, it was written to the churches of these.
Right.
Those two letters were written to Timothy as he was trying as a church leader to get control of a church that was out of control. And the place where he says, it says, I say that women cannot have authority over men. I am recommending, or I'm saying in this instance, they can't. Just like it's the same phrasing that he uses when he is telling people staying single is a good idea. Same phrasing, but we don't make that a universal command. But here we've made this a universal command for the church. Are you kidding me? I'm telling you guys, I don't know where God's taking me on this.
A lot of things
but-
I'd like to mention, but I don't want to get into it because
Yeah.
it sounds like I'm criticizing some denomination or church
Mm-hmm.
type, and I'm not doing that at all. I'm just trying to find out the truth.
Me too. Me
That's what
too.
everybody wants.
Yeah.
They don't want any superfluous stuff.
Yeah. Well, and my thing too, I'm very concerned about the unity of the body of Christ, and the thing that I grew up with with the denominations everywhere, there was no unity. I have somebody who I know specifically that I think they were truly in love. It's two young people, and because of their church denomination differences, they broke up. Now they both are happily married to other people now, but that comes to my mind very often that I truly think they were. I don't know. It doesn't matter now, but in the sense, the divisions that we have because of our denominations, and we're supposed to be one in Christ. And so I think the reason we see the trend towards the community churches that are saying we're just the church. And it's not to say anything disparaging about our upbringing. I'm very thankful for the Church of Christ and the upbringing I had, but it is also the body of believers that have absolutely shackled me when I believe I've had a calling on my life to preach the gospel that I have ignored because I'm a woman. And I will have to answer for that when I come before my Creator. I can't go, well, they said I couldn't. Well, because I'm studying it, and you know what? He says I have been called to it. And I still don't know how that's all going to unpack, but here we go. Here we go, y'all. I love my tribe, but we're all part of the same tribe
years
and the
ago-
same nation.
Years
you know.
ago, I was at a point I was beating people over the head with the Bible. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's just no other way. And I ran into a guy that I respected a lot, and I said, "How do you handle people that come to you and they're saying something different?" He said, "Well, they may be right." He said, "I look at it and said, well, how'd you get that? How'd you get to that point?" And he said, "I learned from them how they got there. I may not agree, but I."
Yep.
Genuinely interested in how they got there to that point. And it may be something there for me to learn. And I changed my mind after that. And I started doing the same thing. When somebody comes to me with something different, I just said, well, that's interesting. I'd like to know more. How did you get to there? It's interesting to me how people got to where they are, whether it has to do with the economy or their wealth or whatever. It's just interesting. People are interesting.
It is.
And so by doing that, I learned, and sometimes I've changed, because how can I be right all the time? I'm not, no one. So when somebody approaches me and they think they are absolutely right and everybody else is wrong, I just smile and say, well, could be.
Yeah, and I just keep studying. I tell everybody, I say, if I'm wrong on this, I tell my elders all the time, one in particular I'm super close to, and I tell them, if I'm wrong, convince me.
Right,
Because I'm studying this constantly. My husband's getting tired
I
of
want
it.
to know.
All he hears is me. I'll have a sermon playing, and he'd just look at me like, "Can we listen to something else?" I've heard this preacher 10 times with this lesson. Well, there is Christy McClellan. She's a professor at Williamson College down in Franklin, and she says all the time they say it takes hearing something 27 times before you truly have it in you. And I'm getting pretty close to having listened to all of her stuff 27 times because it's just my way of just getting it in me. And if I'm wrong, man, convince me. And I expect, boy, some of the Church of Christ elders are going to show up on my porch and go, "Laverne, we got to have a talk." Well, come on, let's go. Let's
Well,
have a talk.
I tell you what, the people I run into, there's people that never have opened the Bible and they want to know, how do I study the Bible? Well, that's great. I love hear people who want to know. And there's people I run into that had a Bible on their coffee table all their life, and they've never opened it, and they don't want to know.
Yeah.
So I forget those. I mean, they're not going to listen to you. But in place of these first people that really have a desire and a hunger to know, I said, the Bible, when you look at it, the book, is over 1,000 pages. And that's going, whoa, but you sort of... it doesn't read like a normal novel. You don't have a beginning and a middle and an end. Even though it says in Genesis 1, in the beginning, and Revelation says in the end. But it's not written that way. It's not in chronological order. Like there's, I have put this out, and I've tried to get it out. It's called Quick Reference to the Books of the Bible. And I've written down every book of the Bible and a quick reference of what each book is. So if someone can just look at it and say, well, what was Esther about? Esther's not very long. It's a good book to start out with because it's short. It's a good story.
Yeah.
And, if someone's brand new, I would say start reading the letters in the New Testament. Was that what you would say? Would you tell somebody brand new, what would you tell them how to start out?
Yeah, I think so. And I'm not sure that I wouldn't hand them this first. I wouldn't hand them the Didache because I like how that it kind of breaks it down. Because this is something that I truly believe this is something that was handed to people who had grown up in paganism and they didn't know anything about the God of the Jews and of Israel. And so to get them just like an introduction, I absolutely would. And I would say this: read the Gospels, read Acts. I love your idea of getting an Old Testament Bible story book so you can kind of get the nuance of it. There's something that I too, man, if you really want to there's Christy McClellan has this study called Israel that she has through New Lens, and it'll cost you $74-$80 to sign up for it because it's considered college. But you can, she takes it and she looks at the Bible from beginning to end because she says, how many of us will take and get a novel? We're going to go read a book, and we flip over into the middle of the book, and we read a paragraph, and then we flip to the front of the book, and we read a verse, and we flip to the back of the book.
How does it end?
Yeah, and she goes, "This is how you read a book." And she says God's story is the Bible from beginning to end, and she says you have to look at it almost like a book of photographs, like the highlights, and it's, if you read Genesis and how fast, it's like in fast forward. Here's what's happening, here's what happened, then all of a sudden it slows down and he puts his finger right on Abraham. And then he makes promises to Abraham. Through you, I'm going to build a nation. I'm going to bless. What are all the promises? I'm going to.
Well, the first promise, God promised to a family, which was
to
Abraham.
Family, and then
he said to a
nation,
nation,
and then going to bless all people. So those three promises, and then she says,
land.
yeah, and the land, exactly. And she says that he makes those three promises, and then the rest of the Bible is him fulfilling those promises.
When you get to about
it's
Genesis
fascinating.
6, you've been about halfway through.
It's crazy. I mean,
rest of
it's fast. Yeah, it's
Over and
nuts.
over.
It goes fast. But I guess that's the thing. Sometimes I think you absolutely start with the Gospels, but in the same sense, because make sure they know Christ. But you want them to understand. There's so much, y'all, and it's just not that hard. Just get in there and study. We used to do. That's a problem, Bill. We used to take. And this was part of our curriculum in school. We did a deep study of Scripture as part of our education, and that's why we've lost it. So
That
many
always
people.
impressed me about Church of Christ. They were doing deep studies when
Yeah.
other people weren't.
Yeah,
The
and-
Bible was the main focal point.
You bet.
And so many other churches don't have the Bible as a main focal point. They're
Yeah.
wasting their time.
Yeah,
I tell you.
And that's one thing I have so much respect for my fellow Church of Christ folks is our deep study. But we got to a place where we're like, okay, this is what that means, and then we're like, that's it. That's
Yep.
and it's like,
Go on.
no, keep looking because if you really understand, there's so many things I didn't understand about Scripture that I do now, or at least I think I do. I don't think I'm ever gonna get to a place, if I live to be 110, that I ever say, oh, I've got this. But this is what I believe in this
far.
moment. And as a Berean, I want to be a Berean.
Right,
But I'm constantly
yeah.
digging.
I like
If you know
that.
who the Bereans are, they were the ones who studied and dug into it after they heard the message to make sure what they were telling them was true. We got to be Bereans. I got to do a break here. I got
Okay.
2 more to do, Bill. All right. talking with Bill Jones. We're talking about the mannerisms and customs and understanding the Bible through that Middle Eastern lens. And I love that he brought that to the table because that's what I'm studying all the time right now. So thank you, brother. But we're going to pause and talk about my friends, Corbin Creek Greenhouse Gifts and Gardening Center. My friends, the Corbins, just love them so much. They're so much fun to talk to. I was looking on their social media page, their Facebook page. They had put up the first, I don't know, I guess maybe Miss Amy put that up on just her personal page, but it's the first bow of decorating season. It was the first, it was like a candy striped white and red bow that they were fixing for the Christmas decorating that they do. She and Stephanie go out and they decorate homes and businesses for the holidays, and they may just be about booked up. You can call them and see, but I know they had November booked, and that was a couple of weeks ago. But you can call them at 615-384-3185, 615-384-3185. But get by there, see all that they have going on. Yes, they've always got great houseplants and succulents and things, life that you can bring into your home. And they have got their beautiful handmade items. Miss Jane makes a lot of this stuff, the aprons and the little bow cozies that you can stick in the microwave so you don't burn your hand while you're making your soup this winter. And they've got your CBD products, everything you need for CBD. They are my source for CBD. My hip replacement doctor, Dr. Jeffrey Hodrick, told me you need to take CBD since you don't want to take pharmaceuticals to help you with your arthritic pain. Why was he right? I can't believe the difference it has made, and it may be a game changer for you. Now, their hours have adjusted because of the cold weather, and their hours now are Monday through Saturday. They're open 10 to 4. Sunday, they're open from 1 to 4. As they get on to the deep cold months, they may not be there on Sunday, but they'll keep everything very clearly posted on their social media page. I found out Lisa Arnold with Small Town Startups one's handling her social media, and I can tell. But they've got a great social media presence, and they do a great job keeping you informed through social media. So just check that out. And when you get by there, always make sure and, tell them where you heard about it, and tell them that you appreciate them sponsoring One Street Over. Tell them you turn Fincha. All right, Mr. Jones, we got 2 minutes.
What do you do when someone asks you, what kind of Bible should I buy? They don't have one. What should I get? King James or NIV or RSV or, what would you say?
There's a couple that I have now that I got. I mean, of course, the one that you gave me is the Study Bibles, the King James.
That's what it is, yeah.
But it's got a deep, wonderful, wonderful commentary in it.
Oh, yeah.
And, it's just fabulous.
Best I've seen.
And just very, very good. Now, I'm not a big fan of the King James itself, but I love the commentary that's within that book that the Bible you gave me. But now Christy also has a couple that are written with the Middle Eastern commentary in it. And I can't tell you the exact name of it, but if you look for a Bible that has the customs and that has that hermeneutics kind of thing going on, that it does some examination of customs, I think those are excellent. If somebody that's really having a hard time understanding it, get the Message. That's one that's
The Message is a good one.
It's a good one.
Very good.
It's very good. And I've had some people say, well, it's heresy. Not if you really sit down and read it, because when he did that translation, I believe he had a manners and customs and a hermeneutics and all those things with him.
Right.
When
Yeah, I
he
think
put that,
so.
because you can read that from the Message, and then when you understand everything. I'm going to go read how he writes about the elders, because I'm wondering if he doesn't word it taking into consideration that reference to husband of one wife is actually an idiom. I want to see what he says there, and I'll bet you it's exactly in line with what this other teacher was saying.
Well, I carry a King James simply because that's where I started when I was young. I'm real familiar with it. I feel comfortable in it. Now others don't, and I can understand why. And there are translations that take out the these and thous, and there's all kinds of translations. The Holman Bible's a great Bible, but I have them all.
I've got a bunch.
I look at each one if they're on the internet.
Yeah,
you don't have to have the books. They're on the internet. Just look up KJV, Matthew 5:8 or something, and it'll tell you. And it'll tell you probably give you 10 different translations.
Yeah, well, the Bible Gateway you can get online, and it has all the translations. I have a Bible that I got. It's the Archaeological Bible that I love, I've got that one, and I've got a Patriots Bible that they did through Wall Builders, and that was one of them we did whenever I was at the Blaze. It was actually something we advertised. I did a commercial for the Patriot, and I forget exactly.
I started out with a Schofield. when I was in my 20s.
I can't remember the exact David Barton's name for that, but I'm wanting to say it's like it's the Founder's Bible. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
It's the Founder's Bible, and that's a fabulous one. And it's got a lot of archaeological and a lot of the hermeneutics and all
What was
the
that translation that came out? It was real simple and almost, I didn't like it. The New
New Living.
Living. The
New
Living
Living?
Bible. When
The
the
Living
Living
Bible?
Bible came out, I thought, that's the junkiest stuff I've ever seen. But the New Living Bible is better.
Very similar.
But different people have different stages in their life. They need certain things, and you don't have to stick with anything. You get one, read it, and go to a more advanced thing, and you don't need to start at the top.
Well, and there's
know.
scripture references that I have memorized through my life that are even King James because of the
Right.
poetry of it.
I memorized King James,
the
yeah.
story in Luke of, and there was in the same country shepherds abiding in the field, keeping watch over their flock by night. There's not a more beautiful recitation of the birth of Christ than the Luke passage, and we know that from the Peanuts. Whenever Linus came out on the stage and recited that, and it's so beautiful. And so that's one that I've committed to memory, and I don't know that I could do it right now because I probably need to review it.
I have a hard time memorizing at my
yeah.
age, so this is what I do. I take and I find one that I really like. I make a copy. I hang it on the wall.
Yeah.
My wall is full of stuff, like
Good.
that, because I can look up and say, I can remember. Trying to bring it up in my memory is tough.
Yeah.
Since I've gotten older.
Well, me too. And I have a journal that I have bought. I've got 2 journals, and for about a week or 2, I was real faithful about getting up and just writing repetitively the ones I'm trying to memorize, and I got out of the habit. Number one, I'm having a hard time writing because of the arthritis in my hand. I'm just,
Me too.
I can't,
My writing's not
I can't
good.
write very long, very well. And I can type, and I love speak to dictating. I have to do that, but I'm having issues with my right hand, and probably can get some little quick surgery and fix that thing. But and the CBD helps. I'm just saying. But so I've kind of gotten out of the habit of that. But I want to memorize more. And my preacher Russ Corley put me onto an app he has that is very helpful. And I was trying to use that, and I get so distracted, and I haven't gone back to it. But there's a couple of apps out there that assist you in memorizing, and you can. There's so much on. We've got so much at our fingertips, Bill. I'm
A
telling
lot
you,
of
it's just wonderful.
sources.
Yeah, we
of
do.
everything.
Well, we're talking. I'm talking with Bill Jones about all things that we want to talk about because it's Faith Friday, and we've just been all over the place, getting some Jesus on you this morning. I appreciate him so much coming in and keeping me from completely rambling, but I think he and I both maybe did just a hair bit. But one more sponsor that we need to talk about, and that's Barry and Rebecca Richards with the Exit Realty Garden Gate team. So many people want to be part of what we have here in Robertson County. And if you've got questions just about what's going on in Robertson County, go and talk to people like Barry and Rebecca Richards. You can connect with them at sellwithbecky.com or buy, B-U-Y, robertsoncounty.com. They are experts at what they do. She is one of the first in the area to be a seniors real estate specialist. She's been at this a long time. They've been in Cross Plains for over 20 years. They're our neighbors, so they know this community. Barry came out of he was a vice president of a media marketing company for 17 years in Nashville. He brings that marketing expertise to the table, and they will make sure you know everything you need to know if you're curious about Robertson County. But they also, they specialize in Robertson County properties, but they buy and sell in the surrounding counties also. And across the state line up in Kentucky, they're everything you need. He's a Zillow certified photographer, licensed and insured drone pilot, does the 360-degree virtual reality home tours, get you up on Realtor.com. Again, they're the whole package. They're saying, hey, come join their team. If you want to know more and check out everything they have going on, there's a real simple way to do it. Just get online and go sellwithbecky.com, sellwithbecky.com, or buy, B-U-Y, robertsoncounty.com, and they will get you all hooked up and acclimated to everything going on. And please, when you do, make sure you tell them that U-Turn sent you. Miss Lee Marie has said, she sent me up this little note saying that be sure and get a hold of my father's house. We're getting ready to get into these cold temperatures right now. And they need volunteers. You can volunteer through the Grace Baptist Church. They need you to come out and help them. I want to remind you, too, they've got
Let's
the
go to the
fundraiser
races.
for the fire. Let's see if I can find it real quick. There is a fundraiser, chili supper at, where is that? I've lost it now. But there is a chili supper going on to raise money for one of the fire and rescue units. It's a Volunteer Fire and Rescue. That's what I was trying to think I could turn your mic up. Go ahead and talk, Bill. Wrap us up, my friend.
Okay, to wrap it up, what I'm talking about is Manners and Customs book. Get you one. There's one I have right here that you can tell it's a lot of use to it because it's wrinkled, it's gotten wet, it's got paper clips in it. I use it all the time. And there is one out that I really highly recommend, A Bible, Manners and Customs by Reverend G.M. Mackey. He wrote it in 1898. He went over the Middle East and traveled picking up all these manners. It's excellent. Just, it's on the internet. I made a copy of what he wrote. Get those things and read them. It's endless. You never read it all.
It's incredible.
Manners and Customs, but it sure opens up explanations of what's going on in the Bible and what's really meant, which is exegesis.
I love it. I love it, Bill. It's so funny. I was talking about you the other day. I said, yeah, Bill and I get together, and he talks about, boy, I wish I'd started this. What age do you always?
I heard you mention that on the air.
Yeah, was it on the air? I couldn't remember if it was on the air or not because
Yeah.
I'm the same way. I wish I had gotten on fire for this in my 20s.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's
I wish
exciting.
I'd had this understanding in my 20s.
Really
but
exciting. It's
but
sort of
you
dull
know,
when you don't understand.
yeah, it's so
not very
exciting.
good.
I'm just on fire for this.
Good
I just
about
love
it.
it so much. But I do appreciate you, brother, so
Well,
much
I love
coming
being
in
here
here.
talking about it.
Absolutely, this has been a lot of fun. And if you be sure and reach out to Bill and give him your email address. So if
W. Jones.
W. Jones.
W. Jones at bellsouth.net.
W. Jones at bellsouth.net.
And I've got all kinds of resources. This is the main one I've just finished.
Yep.
I'm proud of.
Yes.
Of the reference books to the Bible.
You bet. That's awesome.
I
Okay.
also have done a commentary on Revelations and Ezekiel.
Okay.
Just finished that.
So, and you can send that to.
I can email it.
You can email it to me. I need you to send me all that stuff.
Well,
I've
that's
got like a
lot
whole
that-
archive. I've got a whole
Revelations-
archive of your stuff.
Revelations
because-
is long.
I
It's a
know.
lot of-
It's like, well, I'll have to get you in here. The next time I have an open Friday, I'll call you and we'll start unpacking that. You want to? want to?
You can't do it in a short period of time. It's a lot. It's complicated.
Well, maybe over the holidays while I'm not teaching, I can get Ilya to give us an extra hour and we can do 2 hours on a Friday.
Well, 2
I
hours
bet
wouldn't
you.
get it.
You don't think? Come on, Bill. I love
It's
it.
a lot. You
You're
just have to
funny.
read a little bit and think
I
about
love it. I love it. Well, as we're going out, let me go ahead and mention that chili fundraiser supper is in Barren Plains tomorrow at 5 p.m. at the Barren Plains Baptist Church, and it is for the Volunteer Fire and Rescue Department down there. So that is tomorrow, 5 p.m. at the Barren Plains Church. Again, we want to mention that My Father's House needs volunteers. You can get information at the Grace Baptist Church because as it gets colder, shelter, of course, is opening up and it's going to be full. I want to talk about the veterans for just a real quick minute. Thank you for serving. If you want to learn more about Vietnam, this is breathtaking. 77 letters. They're going to have a play. It's going to be at the Cornerstone Church next weekend, the 18th and 19th. You can get tickets at actorspointtheater.com, actorspointtheater.com. We had Susan on radio last week. I'm reading this book. I'm going to be reading this to my students because it has got an insight into Vietnam we've never seen because they found these letters of this correspondence between this
I read
man and
about it on
woman.
Facebook.
It is incredible, you guys. This is going to the stage next weekend. I believe it'll hit the big screen eventually because it is
it's
so good. And I can't say enough about that. Can't say enough about our veterans. Thank you for serving. Thank you, Bill, for serving. Appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
And thank you to my favorite veteran, my son Jedi, and all those who have served. Thank you. Be sure and thank a veteran today. Go buy them dinner or something, y'all. Thank you for being here and being a part of One Street Over. This is 1100 WSGI. God bless.